the power. I love my motorcycle. I love my motorcycle. What's going on, everybody? Chip Hardbody here, riding 2 up with Mrs. Hardbody. Headed out to, yeah, it's a long fucking name. Pine Grove Furnace State Park for the first leg of our little day trip, and then to Chambersburg, PA, and then it's on to Breezewood, PA. Looks like it's going to be some interesting roads. We're taking you guys along for the ride, so hopefully you'll enjoy some footage of all that. But in the meantime, we've got some stuff to talk about. So by now, hopefully all of you, most of you, some of you have watched my video that I made. That was the first part in a little series that I'm doing of. And again, I don't really know what to call it. It's not necessarily self-improvement, self-help, self-love. I called it self-love, and then masturbatory jokes were made. So, yeah, nobody loves me like me. So I'm not sure what to call it. So we're just gonna fuck it. We're just gonna do it. How's that? So this video is going to be talking about the power of saying no. And once again, this is something that doesn't really get discussed a lot in today's society. We're all people pleasers. We're taught from a very early age that it's best to just do what other people want. It's kind, it's polite, it's nice, it's the right thing to do. To just kind of go along with other people and do what they want you to do rather than necessarily what makes you happy or what you want to do. So we're going to get into this a little bit. And I speak as somewhat of an authority on this just because it's taken me a lot of effort and personal growth to learn how to say no to people that I love in my own life. And that's the hardest part, is saying no to the people you love. It's easy to say no to people that you don't know, people you have no connection to. You know, the panhandler who asks you for $1. It's easy to say, nah, man, I don't have any change or whatever. That's easy. It is a lot harder to say no when your spouse or your significant other asks you for something, or your family asks you for something. It's a lot more difficult in those cases. But it's very important that you learn to say no to the people that you love, and especially to the people that you love, because oftentimes those are the people that stress us out the most with their requests. I'll wave at you, biker. I'll wave at you. Oh, fuck you. Look at Harley. God damn it. So, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. And my family is very typical Southern family in our culture. And if you've never been to the South, or you don't know anybody who grew up in the South, it's very much a culture of you do anything for your family. You would do anything for them, and you don't ask for anything in return. That's the culture. That is what is ingrained into your head from the day that you are born. So learning to say no to that culture comes with a lot of stigma. Comes with a sort of mentality of, well, don't you love me? So when we were living in Kentucky, we were living very close to my family, my mother specifically, and there was always something. There was always something that needed done, or that she needed help with, or she needed money for. So we would always get these requests, and specifically me, because I'm the youngest of 4 children. I'm the only boy, and I'm fairly physically strong. And it was just always expected that, you know, I would always do whatever my mother asked me to do, without question. Even after I got married and I have, you know, my own family to take care of. I'll wave at the little doggies. Even after I got married and had my own family to support, my wife and I don't have any kids and don't plan on it, but still, you know, there's an extra person there that you really, that should be the most important person in your life. They should start coming before the rest of your family. But that's for a different video. So my mother would ask me to do these things, and a lot of times they were just, you know, menial tasks that maybe she wasn't physically strong enough to do, or she needed my truck that I had, she needed help moving something. But it started to get to the point where she would just drop by unannounced. And again, this is a thing that we do in Kentucky. Oh, hold on, here we go. There's just a thing that we do in Kentucky and in other southern states, I've noticed, where your family just drops by unannounced, and it's perfectly fine. No one says anything, no one gets offended by it, because it's just how you're raised. It's just what you do. So, you know, in line with that mentality, my mother would just show up to our apartment unannounced with this list of things that she wanted done, and in her mind, I should just drop everything and help her with them. And again, this is not uncommon. I'm not bashing my mother. It's not an uncommon thing to happen where we grew up. This was an expected mentality. And so for the first 2 years that my wife and I were married, it was very difficult for me to reconcile my need to put my wife before anyone else and my ingrained desire to please the people that had raised me. So it got to the point where doing things for my mother, because I mean, it wasn't just chores, it wasn't just helping to move stuff, you know, she started to ask for money, and I found it very difficult to say no to her, even when we really didn't have it. And I thought I was being noble. I thought that I was doing the right thing by helping my poor, penniless mother out of a bind. And it took a lot on the part of my wife to finally help me realize that no, it's not noble, because at this point we're just enabling. And long story short, it was a very difficult process when I finally started putting my foot down with my mother and telling her no. But after that initial band-aid was ripped off, life got so much easier. And again, it seems noble at the time. It seems like you're being selfless, you're being self-sacrificing to help out someone else. But the danger of not saying no, and not being able to say no, and not being able to put your foot down and draw some personal boundaries, is that you get to a point where someone else's life takes over your own. Oh, that's a sad looking bike. It gets to a point where someone else's life and desires and needs and wants takes over your own, and so you're no longer an autonomous human being. You're a plastic bag blowing in the breeze at the whim of everyone that has come to expect and depend on you, and that you'll do these things without question, that you'll just do it. Like, it's not even a question. At the end of the day, you have to come first. You know, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else, and that is the thing. And I recently read an article where it was stated by clinical psychologists. They were polled, and they were asked, you know, what is the number one thing that normal people can do in their everyday lives that would help them be less stressed and avoid having to see a clinical psychologist? The number one answer of that study, these clinical psychologists, was learn to say no. That's the advice. Learn to say no. Because People get so stressed out with trying to please everyone and still make time for themselves and still make time for their loved ones, you know, their significant others and their children, that they just can't handle it and they break down. And it causes people to snap. And it can be dangerous, not just for, you know, mental well-being, but also for physical. It becomes physically taxing to maintain these pressures. And we wear it like a badge of honor, like we're some kind of martyr. Oh, I'm just a people pleaser. Oh, you know, that's fine, but you have to take care of yourself first. I know a guy who, he would not only work on his family's cars, he wouldn't even make them pay for the parts. Like he would change the oil, change the brakes on his family's vehicles, and he would pay for everything out of pocket, and it was breaking him. You know, he was losing so much money by doing this, and his family and his friends would come to expect this. And, you know, they had it easy. They didn't have to pay for new brakes. They didn't have to pay for new rotors. You know, they didn't have to contribute anything to it, because he felt that he owed them. So it became a really heavy burden on him. And at one point, you know, he was in danger of losing his place. So he finally had to tell his family, you know, no, I can't do this anymore. You're going to have to start helping out. You're going to have to start contributing and paying at least for the parts. You know, I'll still donate my time to help you, but you need to pay for the parts. And they didn't take it well. They did not do well with that, with him standing up to them finally. And he had a falling out with a lot of the members of his family. But over time, you know, they started to realize what a valuable service he had been providing them, because they finally started realizing, you know, holy shit, this stuff costs a lot of money. And like a lot of them just didn't know that it was as expensive as it was to do these regular maintenance things that he had been doing for them for free out of his own pocket. So, you know, a lot of them came around. You know, he still had some issues with a few of his family members that felt that he owed them, and that's where the danger really comes in, is people start feeling like you owe them these services or these favors, and that's just not the case. You don't owe anybody anything. And it took him a long time to rebuild those relationships, but, you know, I talked to him a little while later, and, you know, he was really happy that he had done it, and he had finally started saying no, because, you know, his work life improved, his home life improved, his finances improved, and his relationship with his family actually improved as well, because they realized, you know, that he cared enough about them to do these things for free, and they were taking him for granted. So these are the things I'm talking about, you know, learning to say no. You have to start small. So if you regularly do favors for people, let's say you fix their car, you know, instead of just flat out telling them, no, I'm not going to fix your car anymore, you know, tell them that they need to chip in for the cost of the parts, or that they need to, you're going to require some form of compensation, you know, buy you a beer, buy you a pizza, something. Just, you know, establish that tit-for-tat relationship. And obviously, you know, there are going to be times where you're going to want to do something for somebody just purely out of the goodness of your own heart, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying to never do that. That is not the point. The point is, don't do things for people that are a detrimental impact on yourself and your own happiness and others. And it just follows in line with doing what makes you happy. And if you start telling people no, in a lot of ways, it's going to improve your life, and it's going to improve your relationships with the people that are asking you these favors. And, you know, you're probably going to have some people that are just going to cut you off, and they're just going to be like, well, you're of no use to me anymore. And you don't need those fucking people in your life anyway. And that's going to be difficult, to come to that realization that they only wanted you around because you did things for them. And that hurts. It hurts a lot. but in the end, you're better off for it, because you don't have that toxic influence on your life constantly just dragging things out of you without putting anything back in. So that's my challenge for you guys with this video, is if you're a people pleaser, if you're someone who just always goes above and beyond and you do things for people constantly without asking for anything in return, start asking for something in return. No, don't ask, demand it. And don't be a dick, don't be belligerent, don't, you know, approach it with the mindset of conducting business necessarily, but just value yourself. That's the thing, is you have value, your time has value, you are important, and you have to realize that about yourself and understand that, and really, and I don't mean on a superficial level, I mean you have to really understand that about yourself in order for this to work. You have to know that you are valued. You have to know that your time is valuable. So start standing up for yourself. Start saying no. Start small. Work your way up. And eventually, I'm not saying it'll happen overnight. I'm not saying it'll happen within a week, a year, a month, whatever unit of time, that, you know, an arbitrary designation of time. That may not be the case, but eventually your life will improve. You will build more solid relationships that aren't just based on you doing stuff for free for people. You're going to build relationships based on mutual respect and understanding and valuing of one another and your time and your money and your efforts and your talents and your skills. So that's it. That's my challenge for you guys. That's like I said, the second video in this little series that I'm doing. I really hope you guys are enjoying these. Leave me feedback in the comments. You know, things that you would like to hear more about. If there's something that you struggle with, that you think that old Chip may have a little bit of insight into. I'm not saying I'm a fucking guru, but I've been through some shit in my life, so you know, I might have some nugget. Even if I can just relate to it, you know, sometimes that's all we need. We just need somebody who can relate to our own struggle. So yeah, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of these videos, and if you have any suggestions for future ones. And if you can do it, get out and fucking ride. All right, it is so nice out. If this is what global warming is bringing, fucking bring it on. No, not really. That's terrible. That's a horrible thing to say. It's very selfish. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you're having a real nice fucking day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.